Hi everyone, Adrian Groenewald here again. Welcome to Global Leadership Platform. And of course, it's our Global Leadership Conversation 1 project. And I've got a very special guest, Gavin Coetzee, all the way from Cape Town, South Africa. And Gavin is from Gavin Coetzee and Associates, executive coach, been very involved over years with leaders, leadership development. He would have strong views on our two specific questions today around the global leadership crisis. As I always say, we have pockets of excellence. But in general, there seems to be consensus that we have a global leadership crisis, and we want to get to the bottom of this. Gavin Coetzee, welcome.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks for inviting me onto the platform.
Gavin, the simple question is, what is the most important quality or attribute we need to develop or awaken or improve in leaders if we are going to turn around the global leadership crisis?
So, John, you gave me a bit of time to think about the question, which I appreciated, because there are various qualities that new leaders need. But I think the most important one is that they need to hold their teams accountable for their performance. And what I mean by that is that they have to be very clear with their team members as to what their deliverables are, what they need to perform on, and then to regularly have feedback sessions where they ensure that their teams are actually doing what they have promised and contracted to do, and in that process ensure that there's a feedback mechanism and managing of expectations going forward, as well as a consequence process if team members are not performing. In other words, either coaching and mentoring or the disciplinary process.
Okay, but the underlying principle that you put at the top of the list is holding your team and team members accountable for the performance that they committed to, that they planned with you, and the expectations from various stakeholders, I guess. So that's the number one principle you put at the top. I guess just doing the why drill a little bit, going a little bit deeper, why do you put that one at the top?
Well, I think that substandard performance is too often accepted and tolerated, and when team members are not performing, there is not sufficient feedback and consequence. And I think that affects levels of service to their clients and their stakeholders. And leaders are hesitant to have these tough conversations with their people. And they would rather hand the person over to a coach or to dismiss them or transfer them somewhere else, as opposed to saying, this is what we agreed on. What is the problem? What is the gap? And let's talk about it. Let's fix it. And to be quite straight and direct with their team members about what those gaps are.
Okay. Yeah, we certainly can do with a lot more accountability in politics in this country and other countries. All right. The second question that we pose to our experts all over the world is, how do we best develop, awaken, or improve this quality or this attribute to hold teams accountable? You're doing a lot of executive coaching, you're doing leadership training, you visit with leaders in various parts of the world, and obviously companies give you a brief saying this is what we need from our leaders. These are maybe the leadership competencies that we need to develop in them. But ultimately, in the back of your mind, you could think, well, we need to teach them to be more accountable or to hold their people accountable. How do you train someone to get to that point? How do you help them evolve to being a leader that holds people more accountable?
So, Adrian, I think one has to look at the underlying issues surrounding this as to what is stopping and preventing leaders from holding their folk accountable and having those tough conversations. And in order to have tough conversations, one has to develop the leaders, first of all, self-awareness, that they need to work on this point, develop their emotional intelligence. In other words, the ability to share what they are uncomfortable with, dissatisfied with, frustrated with, in a way that is calm and assertive, and teach leaders how to manage such tough conversations. In other words, help them with the skills to feel more comfortable that it's quite okay to let your team members know where they're missing the mark, and the team member needs to deal with that. and be responsible for responding to what the leader has said to them. Not to be afraid of the relationship being impaired, but rather to stay with the data, state the facts. In other words, this is the standard we've agreed on. You're under that standard by X percentage. Let's discuss what's preventing you, what's challenging you, and why is it that you are unable to meet the standard, and identify the best interventions going forward, whether it's coaching, training, mentoring, or simply the leader working on their own skills of being more straightforward and not afraid to have those difficult conversations.
Okay, well, that's very interesting for me. You got me thinking there. So I think any leader that one speaks to would realize I need to hold my people accountable for performance. I mean, but not all leaders do it very well, even though they all understand theoretically that they need to, and consciously they know it. What stood out for me, what you said now, a couple of things, but the one specifically is find out what stops me from holding my people accountable. It could be simply that I want to be liked. It could be simply that I avoid confrontation because of that weakness. Maybe it's a personality type. But once you understand what's holding the person accountable from, what's holding the person back, the leader back from holding people accountable, having the tough conversations, then you can start working with that around a coaching program, training, whatever it may be. So that stands out for me, and some of the other things you said. Okay.
That is correct. And you know, the thing is that leaders get promoted from being at the same level to now being above their previous team members, which makes it difficult because of the previous relationship. Or they just couldn't be bothered. They don't care enough to put in the effort and the time to have these conversations, which, you know, take time, but it's an investment in the future of the individual and of the performance level.
Well, you've touched on a few things that could lead to more conversations, Gavin, for sure. And certainly it's in my mind, you know, why leaders don't hold accountable. That's a whole different conversation. Maybe that'll come in Global Leadership Conversations 2 in the future. There's a lot of things that you've sort of awakened inside me to think about. Thank you for your time. Thank you for putting your voice out there, as I always say to experts. Let's get it out there in the near future and get it onto Global Leadership Platform. And we appreciate your time. Gavin Coetzee from Gavin Coetzee and Associates, executive coach, very experienced when it comes to leadership development, all the way from Cape Town, South Africa. Thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome, Adrian, and good luck with the platform.
Thank you so much.